In yesterday's video, I made my feelings known about the Ezio trilogy. In every video, though, I make my feelings known about the YouTube author. Go fuck himself. Now, but I said that I had no problem with Ubisoft expanding on Ezio's storyline with some extra games. My main issue with the game was Desmond's story advancing through these spin-off games. So Revelations falls in line with exactly how I feel about Brotherhood. I don't mind Ezio getting full closure from the start of his assassinhood, the end where he finally completes his quest. To me, I think it was a well-done storyline, but my issue with this bullshit is the Desmond storyline once again advancing a bit further than it needed for a spin-off series. Now, we get Desmond's father in the picture, we get the end where you need to head to New York. Of course it's New York. It's always fucking New York. The end of the fucking world is always coming, and it's either coming to New York or the answer's always in fucking, oh, don't even get me started with fucking movies and shit like that. But anyway, in this game, Desmond is in a coma from the events of Brotherhood, and the only way to get him out of the coma is to send him back in time once again. Of course it is. Why the fuck not? No medicine, no rest, no giving the dude a break because you're frying his fucking brain every time you send him to the machine in the first place. They want him to go back into the machine to save his ass. Makes total fucking sense, right? But anyway, on a side note, I believe it's a PlayStation 3 issue. I'm not sure if this affected the 360 game, but something that really pissed me off was when I tried to access those Desmond mission things in the Animus, you know, those black columns in the game where he was stuck in that fucking dream world or whatever the fuck he was in. My console would freeze every single time. There was no way for me to access those shits. And I went online to troubleshoot, look for some solutions, but I couldn't find anything. I was stuck without a way to play those shits. And since this series was already starting to grate on my nerves, I just didn't give a fuck at that point. So I never accessed those memories because of the shitty fucking programming. So fuck you, Ubisoft, just like the goddamn YouTube order. Now, the funny thing about the gameplay that you're watching in the background is obviously the first 3 games, I had to start all the way over from the beginning and do pretty much the tutorials of each Assassin's Creed game. Here, I actually had some save data from when I completed the game. However, I didn't know what to do. I just ran around, randomly picked missions, because I had no fucking idea what I was actually going to use for the content for this video. The other 3 I knew I had to start from the beginning. There was no way around that shit. But here, I needed to find 15 to 20 minutes of gameplay, so I just randomly played whatever the fuck I want, so that's why you guys are seeing some random shit in the background. But in any event, the Desmond storyline of these 2 games, with the whole end of the world shit in 2012, was advanced with the 2 spin-off games, as opposed to the numbered storylines of the game. If you went from Assassin's Creed 2 to Assassin's Creed 3, you'd be wondering where the fuck is Lucy, where the fuck did Desmond's dad come from, and why wasn't he in the game from the beginning? It will only make sense if you purchase the 2 Ezio spin-off games. As for Ezio himself, he has a new city now in Constantinople. He has some new equipment with bombs, the hook blade, which is pretty cool for a minute, and his story starts mingling with Altair's from the very first game. Since we never got a full story of Altair or what happened to him after the game on a console, yes, we did get the PSP game version of Bloodlines that showed Altair had a kid and whatnot, but that wasn't on a console, so if you didn't buy the PSP, you would have no clue what the fuck happened to Altair following the events immediately after the first game. So anyway, here, they start to mesh the worlds of Ezio and Altair together a bit to offer up a bit of closure for both characters. Ezio is the main star, and we get his journey to find Altair, and in doing so, he starts seeing visions himself of Altair. We get to witness the end of Altair's story and what happened to that motherfucker. I do like that, but don't get me wrong, but if Ezio needed 3 games to complete his story, doesn't it feel like Altair deserves a similar treatment? I mean, honestly, it's not like this franchise needs more games. Because they have enough in this motherfucker, but let's get real. Releasing a game like every year with Call of Duty starts to wear down on you. I already said I stopped buying sports games every year. I refuse to buy Call of Duty games each year anymore. Hell, I might not even buy another one ever again. So with this franchise, the game has started to wear thin on me, but it does feel like Altair needed at least 1 or 2 more fucking games. But anyway, the year that Revelations came out, it was during another Call of Duty year in which I stupidly ignored games, and that was the year Modern Warfare 3 came out. Oh, that fucking game. Wait till we get to that motherfucker. But anyway, like the prior 2 Ezio games, I didn't play this one right away, and for good reason. Assassin's Creed 2 took me 11 months before I actually played it. Brotherhood took me 5 months before I played that. So when Revelations was released with Modern Warfare 3, I didn't actually buy it immediately. I knew I was going to play Modern Warfare 3, so I held off on buying this game. I then played Final Fantasy, I played SSX, and then another time-consuming game, Mass Effect 3. All the hours I sank into that shit, which I'll talk about in its own video. But my plan was to buy Revelations when the price dropped. At a time, I knew I was going to play it. However, I got addicted to Mass Effect 3, and I didn't play anything else. I knew I wasn't going to get Black Ops 2. So my goal was to see how long Mass Effect 3 would carry me into the next game, and sure enough, it carried me a long fucking time. I bought Revelations the same day I bought Assassin's Creed 3. No shit. I got a nice discount bundle for both. I think it was $70 or whatever the fuck. Essentially, I paid $10 for this game. And even then, it still sat on my shelf for a few more months before I played this game. Right at the end of 2012, the start of 2013. I guess I wanted to see the whole end of the world shit in this. The game released in November of 2011. I bought it in November of 2012. And I finally played it and completed it in January of 2013. That shows my patience was wearing thin with this series. So imagine how thin my patience ran when I found out that over 1 year later, those Desmond sequences still froze my PlayStation 3. 14 fucking months later, that shit was still causing problems. That is 100 utterly fucking incompetent by Ubisoft. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. 14 months later, shit should work. Now, by the time I started playing Revelations, my patience had already wore thin with this whole 100% synchronization crap of doing everything exactly perfect. You know, back in Assassin's Creed 1, there was no penalty for fucking up the way you were supposed to complete an assassination. The game might want you to climb a tower, drop into a haystack, kill a guard, steal his outfit, hide the body, and then take your target out without being noticed. Meanwhile, you could just ignore all of that shit, walk through the front door of their stronghold, beat up 200 enemies, stab a motherfucker right in front of everyone. And the game allowed you to do that and acted like it was perfectly fucking normal. Assassin's Creed 2 started the idea of failing missions if you don't do things in a certain order. Brotherhood and Revelations expanded upon that, but by the time it got to Revelations and to a major extent Assassin's Creed 3, which I'll talk about tomorrow, the free open world way of doing things had now become 100% completely rigid and scripted. Now, in certain cases, you need to do things undetectable, and you will fail instantly if you don't do them in a certain way. You could complete missions with 50% synchronization, you know, where 100% was something like complete the mission without taking any damage or whatever the fuck it was. But each assignment now came with specific tasks, specific ways and instructions on how you were supposed to complete your shit. Your open world sandbox was now turned into a restrictive kiddie pool. And as you all know, there isn't a pissing section in a public pool, motherfucker. So when you restrict these missions too much, you've now taken away the sandbox elements of the game. Of all the things this game was doing, you know, the Desmond storyline, the limited changes each year since Assassin's Creed 2, the synchronization issue became my biggest annoyance. In Assassin's Creed 2, I tried to get 100% of each mission, and then I went back to try and get 100% of each one. In Brotherhood, I initially tried for 100%, but then I got bored of that shit. I was like, you know what, fuck, I'm not doing this menial shit. It makes no goddamn sense doing it. By Revelations, I just didn't give a fuck. I couldn't care less. Just let me pass this shit and move the fuck on. I don't care about 100%. 70 is passing, motherfucker. All you need is a C grade to pass shit. I don't need an A. I don't need to be the valedictorian, motherfucker. Just give me a passing grade. That's all I care about. Now, one of the gameplay issue that I have to mention added to this game was the tower defense. And that was part of building your Assassin's Guild again and taking over the Templar-controlled areas. To gain control, you needed to play the tower defense minigame. If they tried to gain control back, then you had to do the tower defense all over again, whatever the fuck. You know, I'm not a fan of tower defense games, but I have to admit, I had fun doing this shit. And part of that was breaking up the monotony of what the Assassin's Creed games had become. Like I mentioned in Brotherhood yesterday, building up the Brotherhood was my favorite part of the game. Recruiting people, getting assassins to rank up, become full-fledged master. That was my favorite part of these two games, and they really expanded upon that Brotherhood in this game. Oh man, you had fucking like 85 assassins, whatever the fuck that shit was. I mean, I had rank 10 motherfuckers in every city across Europe. I was like the captain of this bullshit, man. But anyway, this tower defense shit is a style of games I normally wouldn't play and I normally wouldn't be interested in. But it was implemented here in a basic but meaningful way. I'm not going to go out and buy a tower defense game, but to play it here, I had a good time. You know, normally I wouldn't be a fan of some kind of silly mini game in a sandbox open world game like this, but it really did break up the monotony of what you have to do in an Assassin's Creed game. So, Ubisoft gets credit for this one. The minigame wasn't perfect. It was certainly flawed and it had its share of oversimplistic elements, but as a minigame to break up the action in the game, it was a good addition. And I'll tell you right now, you will not hear me say too many good things about tower defense games. So for me to actually praise Ubisoft on adding tower defense to something, that's going to be rare. So I will say that I did have fun with this motherfucker. However, I don't want to see this shit ever again in another Assassin's Creed game. Now, the final thing to note again is the multiplayer. Now, obviously, waiting to play a game after 14 months means I would have been extremely late to the party on multiplayer in this game. Needless to say, I didn't even play it. I said this yesterday and I'll say it again today. It's just not my flavor of online gameplay. You know, I saw the reviews. They said it made improvements and whatnot. They said it rewarded stealth over assholes who avoided stealth and shit like that. But I saw no reason to join the shit that well after the game was already out of style. I mean, think about it. Assassin's Creed 3 was already in style, so why the hell was I going to go back and play the prior game online just to try and learn that motherfucker? So without actually playing it or having any desire to play it, I have no clue if it ran well, if it played well, if they improved the motherfucker. All I know is a few people sent me some videos for Hipfire commentaries. I did some of those, and even then, I still saw some assholes climbing up walls and shit. Whether it was good or bad, improved or not, who knows, but I didn't bother with it. But I just wanted to get through the campaign of this motherfucker. So if it was improved or not, hopefully people enjoyed it. If not, oh well, I guess we still got some more Assassin's Creed games coming. But anyway, I have one more Assassin's Creed game to go this week, and that will conclude the series. Tomorrow will be the Assassin's Creed in which I get to tear a number of assholes in this motherfucker, along with the reason why I don't have black flags. So anyway, as always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good shit. And I'll see you guys in the final video this week for Assassin's Creed 3.